So first of all, tell me your name
This is Scott Lucas.
and your experience with corporate aviation and why you're in Dayton.
Well, probably quite by accident, but I spent my years, all of my professional years, except for a few years after graduating from college back in Illinois, spent all my years as a business aviation pilot and ultimately became a chief pilot and a manager. And I that career started roughly back in 1977 when I left the business environment at Xerox Corporation and had the opportunity to become a first officer in White Plains, New York, and with their jets. And at the same time, also, I had actually I was scheduled to go to school, engineer school, on a 727 at U.S. Airways in Washington. And I was within about 2 weeks of going to school, flight engineer school, and I got a call from the chief pilot at Xerox, whose name was Smokey Bennett.
Good pilot. Excellent pilot name.
And he said, well, if you want to transfer out of your sales territory and move to White Plains, New York, and talk with us, he said, I'd like to talk with you about joining our flight department. And so I had to go out there and flight check and everything, and had the opportunity ultimately to go to work for Xerox as a corporate pilot. And I said, well, I might have an opportunity to go work for the airlines, because at the time I was working for a company called Brit Air, based over in Indiana. I was flying Beech 99s at the time, building my turbine time. And so I said, well, I can probably still get a job with the airlines, but I'll never have an opportunity to fly a Jetstar, a Lockheed Jetstar.
Oh, what an airplane.
It was a Dash 6 Jetstar.
Ooh.
So I went out to White Plains and flight checked, and by December of that year, I was down in Savannah going to school on their G1. Everybody had to go fly the shuttle at Xerox at that time. Anyway, that started my business aviation career. Ultimately became manager of flight operations at Xerox in 1987. And in 1992, I had the opportunity to come back to the Midwest and go to work for Deere & Company, John Deere, in their headquarters out in Moline, and be their director of air transportation. And our family was back in the Midwest, and it made a lot of sense to do that. And that, too, was an opportunity, and I happened to be at the like we were just discussing, be at the right place at the right time. And so we left Connecticut and went back to our home state of Illinois. And my wife's from Peoria, and I was from Decatur. So we went back there, and I spent almost 9 years with Deere & Company, helping make their flight department a global service center. So plus their aviation director was getting ready to retire, and so I had the opportunity once again to continue my management career now. In early 2001, we due to a lot of changes going on at Deere at that time, and change in executive management and everything, I decided to become a consultant and kind of go out and get back to my roots of flying. And so we went out to Colorado, and I went to work for an entrepreneur out there near Vail, Colorado. And sometime, it was late in 2001, I got a call from the family office here in Dayton, and they had a G5 that they had just taken delivery on, and they really wanted to develop their aviation business. And so anyway, I came out here really thinking this was going to be a temporary assignment in January of 2002, and stayed until I retired a few years ago. at the end of 2014. And I think about those last 12 years that I spent in my career, and it was really a special time to be here in Dayton, Ohio. And I started learning about the history of Dayton, particularly the aviation history, and have become totally fascinated by it. That's like in a nutshell.
Sure,
Where-
that's perfect.